tell you about the 437th time I watched Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. It was a Tuesday. I was tired. My nervous system had been through the ringer. The day had been a symphony of sensory assaults, the kind where every sound feels like an attack and every social interaction costs you energy you just don't have. By evening, my brain was fried. I needed comfort. I needed safety. I needed to watch a teenage wizard ride a hippogriff for the 400th time. And here's the thing that neurotypical people don't understand. They say, why are you watching that again? You've seen it a million times. Don't you want something new? No. No, I do not want something new. Something new requires mental effort. Something new requires tracking a plot, learning characters, bracing for twists, processing emotional surprises. Something new is work, and I'm tired. Harry Potter is not work. Harry Potter is a warm blanket for my brain. I know exactly when Hagrid is going to cry about Buckbeak. I know exactly when Sirius is going to say, I did my waiting. I know exactly when Hermione is going to punch Malfoy, and let me tell you, that moment hits every single time like dopamine straight into the veins. Hello, I'm Jenny, 52, lifelong anxiety, waiting for ADHD and autism assessments, and I have watched the Harry Potter films hundreds of times, literally hundreds. I've also watched Bridget Jones' Diary more times than I've had hot dinners. I've cried through the Good Place finale repeatedly like a well-adjusted person, and I spent countless hours watching three American guys get scared in abandoned buildings on Twin Paranormal. Today we're talking about why neurodivergent people rewatch the same stuff 8 billion times. The science, the comfort, the dopamine, and why don't you want something new is the most exhausting question in the English language. Grab a cuppa, or don't. I'm going to talk about Harry Potter again either way. Let's start with the science because understanding why helps, and also because I'm tired of being judged for my rewatches by people whose brains apparently find novelty soothing instead of threatening. Here's what's happening in a neurodivergent brain when we rewatch familiar content. First, dopamine. Engaging with enjoyable, familiar content triggers the release of dopamine, the feel-good chemical. It's the same neurotransmitter that ADHD brains are famously deficient in. We're not just watching Harry Potter, we're self-medicating with Harry Potter. It's cheap, it's legal, and Daniel Radcliffe doesn't judge me. Second, predictability. When you already know the story, your brain doesn't have to stay alert for new information. It can relax and focus on the positive emotions that content triggers. In a world that's unpredictable and overwhelming, especially for neurodivergent nervous systems that already struggle with ambiguity, predictability becomes a lifeline. There's actually a psychological principle called the mere exposure effect. First identified in the 1960s, it explains that people develop a preference for things simply because they're familiar with them. The more you've been exposed to something, the easier it is for your brain to process. And easier processing feels good. It feels safe. It feels like sliding into a warm bath instead of being thrown into the North Sea. Third, reduced cognitive load. New shows demand mental effort, learning characters, following plots, anticipating twists. With a show you've already seen, the brain shifts gears. The cognitive load lightens, triggering that dopamine release, not from novelty, but from predictable and satisfying patterns. It's like the difference between learning a new language and speaking your native tongue. One is work, one is rest. And here's the thing that really gets me. For autistic and neurodivergent individuals, repeated exposure to familiar media reduces both cognitive and sensory load. Known storylines eliminate the need for anticipatory vigilance, allowing the nervous system to settle. That's not laziness, that's regulation, that's survival. When I'm watching Harry Potter for the 438th time, I'm not avoiding growth. I'm giving my nervous system a fucking break. And after 52 years of navigating a world not built for my brain, I've earned that break. Let's talk about Harry Potter, because there's a reason this particular franchise has such a chokehold on neurodivergent millennials and Gen Xers. First, the story itself is neurodivergent catnip. We watch this child, different, strange, out of place in the normal world, discover that he actually belongs somewhere. He goes to a place where everyone, despite their many differences, is just like him in a very important way. They understand him, they share and indulge his interests. Sound familiar? It's the neurodivergent dream. You're not broken, you're a wizard. That's basically the late diagnosis experience in a nutshell. Second, the characters. Luna Lovegood is neurodivergent coded to the moon and back. She's odd, she's dreamy, she sees things others don't, and she's utterly unbothered by what anyone thinks of her. Neville Longbottom, forgetful, anxious, constantly losing things, blooms late but magnificently. Hermione, hyperlexic, a bit socially awkward, knows everything but struggles to explain it without overwhelming people. We see ourselves in them. Third, the structure. The Harry Potter films follow a predictable pattern. Summer at the Dursleys, back to Hogwarts, new defence against the dark arts teacher who's probably evil. Quidditch match, something sinister unfolding, climax in the final act, resolution. It's the same every time, and that predictability is medicine for an anxious nervous system. And yes, I know the older I get, the more I notice how chaotic Hogwarts actually is. The staircases move, the portraits talk, the rules change constantly. As someone who does best with structure, clarity and emotional safety, Hogwarts would absolutely overwhelm my autistic brain in real life. But from the safety of my rented room, with my door locked and my weighted blanket on, it's perfect. I've watched these films hundreds of times, and I'll watch them hundreds more, and I will never apologise for it. Let's move to Bridget Jones, and let me be clear, Bridget Jones is undiagnosed ADHD. I'm not alone in this theory. A neurocognitive therapist wrote a whole piece breaking down the evidence. The films open with classic Bridget chaos. She's late, her hair's unbrushed, she's frantically trying to dress while simultaneously cooking. She burns the spaghetti and sets off the smoke alarm. In another scene, an alpha mum asks if Bridget remembered to bring donations for the school fair. Bridget responds, "Of course," then rummages through her bag and triumphantly produces a pot of hummus and a half-eaten packet of rice biscuits. This is not a woman who's a bit ditzy. This is a woman with executive dysfunction, time blindness, working memory issues, the whole ADHD bingo card. And here's why I love her. She's not fixed at the end. She doesn't become organised. She doesn't learn to keep a perfect diary. She hires a nanny, external scaffolding, and suddenly the chaos disappears. With structure and support in place, life becomes more manageable. That's not a character flaw, that's an accommodation. That's what ADHD management looks like in real life. Bridget Jones is also predictable. The film follows a rom-com structure, I know by heart. Awkward encounter, self-doubt, misunderstanding, grand gesture, resolution. I know when she's going to sing all by myself. I know when Mark Darcy is going to say, "I like you very much, just as you are," and every time it hits. Rewatching Bridget is like revisiting an old friend who also can't keep her life together. She doesn't judge me for having a cold tea on my desk. She gets it, she's living it, and she finds love anyway. She's a mess, and she's worthy. That's the message I need. The Good Place. A show about death, moral philosophy, and the afterlife. Comfort viewing? Absolutely. First, Chidi Anagonye has an anxiety disorder. This is canon. He literally has a stomachache throughout most of the series. He cannot make a decision to save his life. He's paralysed by ethical considerations. He overthinks everything. And he's a beloved protagonist. not a punchline. Seeing a character whose brain works like mine, whose anxiety is portrayed as real and debilitating, but also as part of what makes him brilliant and kind, is genuinely therapeutic. Second, the central thesis of the show, that everyone is redeemable, that trying to be better matters even when you fail, that the point of existence isn't to earn points or achieve perfection, it's to connect, to learn, to grow, to help each other. In a world that often feels punitive and unforgiving, especially for neurodivergent people who've been told they're not applying themselves their whole lives, that message is like a skin balm. Third, the finale. I cry every single time. Not because it's sad, though it is, but because it's complete. It ends properly, satisfyingly. There's no cliffhanger, no unresolved tension. It's a story that knows when to stop. And in a world full of uncertainty and open loops, a story that actually concludes is a gift. I rewatch The Good Place when I need to remember that trying matters, that anxiety doesn't make me a bad person, that Chidi would absolutely understand why I'm rewatching his show for the 10th time instead of starting something new. Okay, this one's a pivot. Twin Paranormal. Two American twins, Ryan and River, and their best friend Wyatt, who investigate haunted locations, abandoned buildings, and allegedly demonic sites. They have over 1.2 million subscribers, and I watch them religiously. Why? Because there's something deeply comforting about watching other people be scared while I am safe in my rented room with my door locked, weighted blanket on, knowing that no ghost is going to manifest in my HMO. If a ghost did manifest, I'd probably ask it to contribute to the rent. Paranormal content is predictable in its own way. The setup, location with a dark history, the investigation, EMF readers, spirit boxes, night vision cameras. The moments. Did you hear that? What was that? Oh my God, something just touched me. The resolution. Sometimes evidence, sometimes nothing. Always a sense that they've encountered something unexplainable. And the twins and Wyatt themselves are a comfort. They're clearly close. They bicker like siblings. They get genuinely spooked. They're not performing toughness. They're just three guys in abandoned buildings freaking out and inviting us all along for the ride. It's parasocial. It's low stakes. It's the opposite of the social exhaustion I feel navigating shared spaces and unexpected encounters. Also, there's a whole category of comfort that comes from engaging with fear in a controlled environment. You choose to be scared. You control the volume. You can pause, rewind, turn it off. The fear is contained. And for an anxious brain that spends a lot of time scanning for real threats, contained fear is a vacation, a holiday. I watch Twin Paranormal when I want company that doesn't require anything from me. They do the investigating, I do the watching. They get scared, I get entertained. It's a perfect one-sided relationship. No small talk required. Here's what I need neurotypical people, and honestly anyone who's ever judged themselves for rewatching, to understand. Rewatching isn't laziness, it's regulation. When life feels chaotic, uncertain, or straight up overwhelming, predictability becomes a lifeline. Your brain and body crave safety, and in the absence of external stability, our internal systems start searching for something, anything that feels safe, familiar, and manageable. A comfort show delivers exactly that. This is especially true if you're neurodivergent. The world often feels like it's moving too fast or throwing too many curveballs at once. When you hit play on your favourite show for the 27th time, it's not because you can't find something new, it's because you need something old, something stable, something that doesn't require decoding or adapting or bracing for impact. Studies have shown that familiar TV shows can restore a sense of self-control and willpower, especially when you're feeling emotionally depleted. That's not regression, that's resilience. So no, I don't want to watch something new. I want Harry Potter. I want Bridget Jones. I want The Good Place. I want two American twins and their best friend getting spooked in a haunted asylum. I want the things that make my nervous system settle. I want the things that feel like home. And if that means I've seen The Prisoner of Azkaban 438 times, fine. I'll make it 439 tomorrow, and I won't feel bad about it. So that's why we rewatch. Dopamine, predictability, reduced cognitive load, nervous system regulation, characters who feel like friends, worlds that feel like home, and the absolute bone deep exhaustion of being asked, don't you want something new? When what you actually need is something old, safe, and known. If this resonated with you, if you've got a comfort show you've watched so many times, you can recite entire episodes, I've loved to hear from you. You can find me on Patreon or buy me a coffee. The links are in the show notes. Tell me your comfort watch, the one you return to again and again, the one that feels like a warm blanket for your brain. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone who might need to hear that their rewatches aren't weird, they're regulation. Word of mouth is how small shows like this one grow. Until next time, watch what soothes you. Rewatch without shame. And if anyone asks, don't you want something new? You have my full permission to say, no, I want Harry Potter, and hit play. This is Anxiously Ever After. I'm Jenny. Now if you'll excuse me, Harry Potter isn't going to rewatch itself.